All right, so morphic resonance. Morphic resonance is basically what we're being subconsciously aware of as far as the beliefs, the things that we have faith in, the imaginations, because the more we add energies to these bodies, even though they're mental bodies, these things accumulate and begin to replicate and begin to become its own self-living organism, aka what they call in Eastern traditions at Tulpa, which is just nothing but basically a manifestation of your mind. So basically you create like an entity and shit like that, and this entity begins to take a shape and a form of its own, becoming a thought and a feeling, because we all summon entities, aka how we think and feel and shit like that. So how we think and feel begins to self-replicate, and it begins to send out basically light, waves, oceans, magnetism, attraction, whatever you want to call it and shit like that. But what we resonate with is exactly what we attract. So based on what you're being subconsciously aware of, that's basically a vibrational set point that basically makes you manifest or create a particular subconscious feeling or a particular subconscious wave and shit like that. And it's rippling and creating your life, your experiences, the people that you meet and shit like that. Because for you to even be meeting these people, you gotta resonate at a particular point. So that's why the shadow government tries to put people in the vibration of fear, because then what are you able to do? You're able to control that person, because that person is afraid, they need a firmament, they need a protector, stuff like that. So when you resonate on that low energy, it's much more easier to manage you and control you. But if you're not resonating there, if you're not there in that space, then it's going to be harder for them to do that, because you're going to be too enlightened, you're going to be too aware, you're going to be too light, and shit like that. Because you can get there just by accepting those contracts and shit like that. So you begin to resonate low, give out your energy, blah, blah, blah. Take your awareness, put it on somewhere else. Or put it on something that doesn't really help you necessarily, or get you the things that you actually want to experience and shit like that. So we all got to understand that the universe is not personal or anything like that. If we just understand universal law and how to do things and shit, then we're able to get with the program and actually begin to create what we want to create, rather than having our mind being directed for us and shit. Like, instead of us creating our own purpose and shit like that, and giving producing our currency for our for our shit, like, some people go to the factory, take their chi, put it there and shit like that. You can use that circumstance to your advantage, but I'm just pointing out an example to say that, okay, we can give someone else our faith, belief, and energy to back up their programs and structure and shit like that. Or we can take that ability back and start to create our own shit based on the actual templates that were cosmic and universal and whatever you want to call it, as far as, 360 and shit like that. Because, when you start to talk about religion, all these educational programs and shit like that, all they're doing is just giving you degrees of basically expansions and contractions that the universe is already doing, as above so below, and teaching you about that. So instead of you learning and teaching yourself about the body and biochemistry and shit like that, you get them to teach it for you. Medicine, entertainment, politics, all that. They make you do their method and you build the world for them, rather than you using that shit to build your world, right? So when we're at that low space, it's easier to get you. But if you can understand what's actually going on and become consciously above this firmament, become consciously aware above this firmament, and actually look down on this shit like it's nothing, and you can actually begin to subatomically morph not only your biochemistry, but also the waves, the oceans, the light you are sending out. Because now you understand what you're doing. You understand that, hey, whatever I'm putting in is what I'm getting out, regardless of the situations, right? And look, life is not even fair. Just understand that. We're in a fucked up world anyways. Life is not fair, right? So you got to look at it also this way, right? The universe doesn't give a fuck, so why do you give a fuck? Why do we resonate at certain spaces, and why do we give this world more power over us? Because if we all understand that the world was spirit before it became, or nothingness before it became something, then we got to understand that, hey, you know what? So we come from nothingness, we can just create anything and shit like that. So even science talks about how the Big Bang, blah, 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 but even that's lostness when you get into it and shit like that, right? It's not lostness, we get to understand what's actually going on, what they're showing. It's just an event outlining a beginning and an ending. So just like everything in the universe is a beginning and ending, right? So we make up these things. So you gotta understand the real starting point of the shit, not necessarily what they try to get you lost into and shit like that, right? Because that's their programs, right? So since the universe doesn't give a fuck, so we shouldn't give a fuck. So therefore, we should be observing some shit that we actually want to create. We should be creating beliefs, having faith, imaginations behind shit that actually manifests, shit that help us, move reality towards our way. Move the needle towards our vision, dreams, future associations, status, you know what I'm saying, environment, you know what I'm saying, because you should be in control of your 360, you should be in control of your internal space, right? You should also create the ideal space for you around you in your environment or in your reality, so you can live out the experience that you want to experience rather than experiencing someone else's bullshit that you may not necessarily even want to experience, or just be inside of that space that the world has put you in. But that's the thing. So it's retarded because we literally reverse fuck ourselves or reverse manifest from the perspective of we might put our thoughts or feelings or the environment around us at an early age. We may have put our mind in a space of depression or guilt or shame or shit like that. And since you're in that space, since someone took your observation and forced you in that space via an action that you have received, aka being exposed to a particular wave of energy vibration, no matter if it's benevolent or non-benevolent, that's going to become a part of your encoding, because especially when it's frequently repeated and intense, because the people around us are nothing but a self-replicating pattern, and we are a self-replicating pattern. And then you got to understand that, hey, other people around you affect you. That's why you got to be careful from hanging out with demons. You got to be careful from hanging out with people that are resonating low, because when you trying to get to that level, when you trying to go to beyond this sphere, beyond this world, beyond this atmosphere, you have to understand that you have to not give a fuck about nothing in this world and shit like that. So you gotta understand that people will input their energy into you, imprint you with their energy and shit like that, especially if it's like intense. So the more time you put in something, the more intense it can become. So same thing with working out. You work out your arm, your muscles get bigger, wherever it is that you do, you know. So if you put your mind, if you observe constantly a repeating pattern of a thought and a feeling, you know what I'm saying, you're going to basically subliminally, subconsciously, I guess you could say, hypnotically hype yourself into that emotion, and you're going to be aware of that subconsciously, and it's going to be part of your automated subpersonality routines, and you're not going to be able to notice and observe it. You're just going to live out the experiences that manifests and the feelings, but you got to pinpoint the early emotions of it and actually be able to let go of that so you can replace it with something. Because right now, you may have a subconscious dweller or a subconscious emotion residing inside of your electromagnetic ocean, which is nothing but this temple of God that's vibrating and emitting waves and shit like that. So once you attune your subconscious awareness and your thoughts and feelings into a space of magnanimousness, joyness, peace, you know, the higher octave version of your attributes and characteristics, by figuring out your configuration and wiring and being able to direct your spirit to create a new residual pattern. Because look, we're creating reality with our fucking mind, with the pen and paper. We are writing. The Bible, what does the Bible say? The Bible says, write the vision down so that you can run with it. Because what your mind do, your mind is running a script. So you got to be able to fucking program that script so you can live the life that you want to live. So some people get better starting points, some people get worse starting points. Some people say, hey, we just resonate with a space as a spirit, and we was born into a body, into a family that we resonated with. Because you have to take responsibility regardless of the shape and form and shit like that. And sometimes, like, look, we're not even in the good world. Like, look, basically, yeah, but you can't give a fuck either. If you give a fuck, it's going to give a fuck about you. You give a fuck about struggle is going to give a fuck about you. You give a fuck about not being self-hatred or whatever it is, self-hatred gonna fuck with you. Whatever you're looking at subconsciously in the subconscious realm is looking right back at you, because you're creating a subconscious bridge portal manifestation to connect with that energy, and it's gonna magnetically attract and resonate experiences that are similar minded, not just through this dense body 3D solid reality, but through the mind on a lighter density as far as the feelings and the fires, the visions you're going to experience. Because what comes in and out of this reality is based on what? Is based on what you're observing, what you're submerged into and shit like that. So if you're submerged into madness, being depressed, being pissed off, what type of experience do you think you're going to manifest? Some people in the streets call themselves crazy, whatever. Nah, nigga, you just resonating on some fucked up, retarded shit. That's all it is. Down to even having, like, what Boondocks refer to as a nigga moment. A nigga moment can happen in real life if you're not even triggered on the inside already. So that alone don't even make sense and shit like that. So, yeah, that's that. But yeah, morphic resonance, man, you gotta understand that you're literally creating your own geometry. You're creating your own landscape. You know what I'm saying? You're creating your own way. You're emitting some shit. So you might as well emit some high vibrational shit and actually get what the fuck you want and take this reality for you with the people that resonate with you, that are on a spiritual mission and shit like that. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's really important that people come together and work together as well. Because at the end of the day, one is sometimes is a small number to achieve greatness, but a lot of the times in this humanistic world, you're gonna find yourself alone doing your spiritual purpose, your spiritual missions. That's why the Masons even came up with a category called the chosen ones, because that's people that chose to believe something different. Now, I'm not necessarily a part of that narrative, nor do I give a fuck about it. I'm just looking at it like, you know, we're all climbing like ladders and shit like that. Or, you know, just trying to, I guess, vibrate differently or whatever through the frequencies and shit like that, and adjusting ourselves according to the wave of ocean that we're experiencing. Because look, the sun sends out awareness depending on its relative position in space and time. All the planets do, you do, everything emits waves and shit like that. The ocean is made up waves. We got sound waves. We got brain waves. Nigga, so what wave is you riding, bro? And you complaining about the wave you're riding, and you know you're riding that wave consciously, bro. That's what I'm saying, homie. That's what I'm saying, sis. You gotta subconsciously look at the space that you in, whether you like it or not. You gotta choose to consciously get out of that shit and put in the steps, put in the reps, so you can actually vibrate and resonate within that space and actually bring about that reality. Now, the Masons in the Shadow Government, they're gonna make that harder and harder. That's why they created COVID, to create distance between people, can create physical limitations and shit like that for people and shit like that, right? Because they can control the material reality, they can kind of manipulate the mental reality, and that's what we're seeing right now through the finances, the sciences, the mathematics, and ain't none of these things evil by nature. It's just that, you know, sometimes you can use these things for, I guess, evil things and whatnot and whatever like that. But yeah, love y'all from the goddamn bottom of my heart. Take care and peace out. 1-1. You already know.